Can you have a productive and abundant polytunnel in year one? In fact, can you have a productive polytunnel in only one season? Well, today let's have a look, because I'm going to be doing my first polytunnel update tour since I created what I think is my dream setup. So let's go inside and check it out. Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back, and welcome to a very, very full polytunnel. It's hard to believe that it's only been 8 weeks. It's really only been 2 months since I finished the renovation work in here and got everything planted up. And really, everything has just exploded over that time. Check out what it looks like now. You know, there's a term in permaculture where you have a food forest. Well, if you can have a food forest, then I think the only way to describe this would be a polytunnel food jungle. When you compare what it looked like a couple of months ago, and that's just the end of May, everything was small and there was loads of room in here. Now check it out. The tomatoes are taller than me and everything is just growing so well. So let's get stuck in. But before we do, there is one thing that has also exploded in growth that it would be kind of unfair if I didn't show you that first. And here is what I'm talking about. I hang my head in shame. These are a huge patch of nettles outside the back of the polytunnel. And to give you a little bit of an idea of scale, I am 6 foot tall. And these are easily taller than me. So these are some seriously massive nettles. Now, the reason they're all still here is that when they started growing and they were about 1 foot high, I was mega busy getting not only in here, but also the veg garden finished. And I kind of just didn't do anything with them. Then they grew up to a height that made that area pretty impenetrable. And since then, the way I've dealt with it is I blocked them out of my mind and just let them do their own thing. And now look at the size of them. Except now that I'm filming this, I'm realizing that all you guys are going to get to see this abomination as well. So I thought I may as well own it and show you that not everything in YouTube gardening is perfect. This most certainly isn't. And the way I'm writing it off this year, this is going to be a brilliant haven for biodiversity. With any luck, all of those cabbage white butterflies and things that create caterpillars and all sorts of pests are going to hang out here behind the polytunnel rather than down in my veg garden. Either way, that is going to be one heck of a job to try and get through when I decide to take that on. But that's all the bad stuff talked about. Let's talk about the good stuff. And really, I think we need to kick off with the main event, my tomatoes. So in the last week or so, the tomatoes have really just taken off in terms of the amount that they're cropping. You can see all the way along this row that there's all sorts of different varieties with really full trusses of fruit. Like for instance, right next to me, these are my all-time favorite tomato. They're an F1 variety and they're called Rainbow Blend. Now, normally you get them in 4 different colors. You get a pink one, a red one, a yellow one, and an orange one. And they're a mixture of seeds, so you're not sure what you're going to get. Well, so far, of the ones that are cropping, they're all orange, which it's not the end of the world. And they certainly are mega, mega tasty. They produce these lovely sort of plum-shaped tomatoes that are super sweet, really, really strongly flavored, which is great because I don't like a kind of mealy, quite bland tomato. I don't like that at all. And they are just great in pretty much anything that you want to use them in. Down the end here, we have quite an unusual tomato that I've never grown before, and it's cropping really well now, which is Midnight Snack. The fruits on them are a lovely dark purple, but once they start to really ripen and when they're ready to pick, they're dark purple on the top, and on the underside they're marbled with a kind of really nice reddy orange. And then behind me, and I'm not sure whether you can see it or whether I'm sitting in front of it, I have all of my sun gold tomatoes. They've been cropping really heavily, and certainly when I look higher, I have truss after truss that are still to come. And that's one of the great things, because of when I chose to sow these this year, which is just that little bit later into the spring. Although I've got a slightly later harvest, it means I'm going to have tomatoes all the way through the rest of the summer. And on the other side, the tomatoes are doing equally as well, though they're not quite ready to harvest yet, and that's because they're beefsteak tomatoes. They take a lot longer to ripen, just because they're so much bigger. And certainly I have one which is easily now about, I would say, about 150 grams. They can grow to anything to 250 grams, and you can even see, just as I cup it in my hand, quite how large that tomato is. I really hope that it tastes good as well. And then just looking along, you can see quite how abundant all of these tomato plants already are. And in fact, I'm going to start picking now, and we'll pick a nice little bowl of them. So this is just a couple of minutes harvest, and you can see I'm already going to need another bowl. There's certainly a lot more than it looks like on the plants, and I'm going to have to keep going to get them off the plants before they go overripe and turn to mush. I'm really happy with this though. I think they look lovely, and I particularly love the look of the midnight snack ones with that marbled colouring. I think it looks gorgeous. And while I was picking, I had a few sneaky tomatoes just to have a little taste, just for quality assurance. And they're delicious. We are going to be getting a lot of tomatoes for the rest of the season because there are 36 plants here, so I think I'm going to be kept fairly busy. Now, on to the next thing. I'm taking a super quick break from the Polytunnel to remind you that if you're enjoying the video so far, do me a big favour and hit that thumbs up button down below. It really does help tell YouTube that people like yourself are enjoying the videos that I make. And if you're not already a subscriber, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, and then that way you're never going to miss another Niall Gardens episode in the future. Thanks everyone. Now, back into that Polytunnel. This little patch of strawberries, I've got this patch and about another 6 or 7 plants at the other end of the bed, has just fruited its heart out. Now, sadly, they're really just finished, so there isn't much to show you. We've been getting bowls of strawberries for about the last 5 weeks or so, and I am really pleased with how they've got on. They've obviously been very happy being in a raised bed with an irrigation system and really decent soil with good heart. And now we're on to the next phase with them, and it's a time that I really enjoy with strawberries, and that's getting rid of all of this straw, clearing out the soil of any weeds and things like that, and getting to work on these, the strawberry runners. Now, my ultimate goal is that this entire long bed, and it's about 14 foot long, is going to be dedicated just to strawberries. So I'm going to be really focusing this year on trying to propagate as many as possible from runners, so that next year we're going to have an even bigger harvest. And next up we have what can really only be described as a tangle of cucumber plants. That's mainly because I haven't entirely stayed on top of cutting off the side shoots quite the way I should, but they're looking really healthy nonetheless. I've got 6 cucumber plants in here. 3 are a standard long green cucumber, which is Marketmore, and the other 3 are crystal lemon, which I always talk about, those lovely little yellow globe-shaped cucumbers. And they're all growing up twine that I'm deliberately growing at an angle so that I can take most advantage of the height of the polytunnel itself. And they're getting on really nicely. Now, I haven't got any fruit yet, but part of that is because I had a lot of difficulty this year with cucumbers and courgettes and getting the seeds to germinate into seedlings. But I persevered, I've got the plants, and now they're doing well. And in fact, when I have a look inside, I don't know if you can see this, we have loads and loads of baby cucumbers. So now all I need to do is keep giving these TLC, and hopefully in a matter of maybe a couple of weeks, I'll be eating the first of my cucumbers. And on the other side of the cucumbers, well, we have these, and I am so excited to be following the progress of how these are getting on. These are my aubergine plants, something that I have never grown before, let alone grown from seed. And I started by sowing these way back. I actually sowed them back in January, and it took a lot of TLC and a lot of coddling them to get them through those cold, dark months until I could finally get them planted out in the polytunnel at the end of May. Amazingly, over that nearly 5-month period, the plants barely grew. They maybe only had about 4 or 6 leaves. And as soon as they got planted into here, with the heat, the light, the moisture, well, they have absolutely boomed. They're coming on really nicely, and now they're flowering. And they have these lovely little pale purple flowers. Now, do not be fooled. They also have really quite sharp spines on the back of them, and so do the leaves, because I can feel myself getting jabbed on the elbow there. I haven't actually seen any fruit yet. At the moment, they're only in flower, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I'm really hoping that even if I can just get one aubergine, really, by the end of this year, I'm going to be delighted. Okay, so let's talk about this entire bed, because all of the plants that are growing in here, well, they're new to me in terms of growing them. And to kick off, let's talk about these massive beauties, which are my cayenne chili peppers. I don't know what I was expecting. I somehow thought that my chilies were maybe going to grow to about 12 inches high. Some of these are nearly 3 foot high. They are absolute monsters, and unbelievably, considering this is my first year, it looks like I'm having some serious success with them. They are dripping with fruit. Like, when I look at each plant probably has upwards already of about 10 chilies, with loads more little white flowers, which has the promise of more fruit to come. And each of them is maturing really nicely. They're all a couple of inches long. Now, at the moment, they're all still green. They're going to need a little bit more time to ripen, but they're looking so hopeful. And then the next plants along, well, they're chilies as well, but they're my Spangles Twilight chilies. The plants are very healthy, they're still in flower, and at this stage, they haven't actually produced any fruit. And then the next ones down, these ones, well, these aren't chili peppers, these are sweet peppers. I really love Ramiro sweet peppers, the long red ones. These particular ones are Corno di Toro Rosso, and amazingly, when I look in towards the back, I've got one so far. And all I need to do now is keep it going until it develops. I'm going to be delighted if it works. And then at the very far end, more chili peppers. These are Serrano. And just in the last few days, the fruits have begun to form. They are peppered with flowers, so I'm hoping for a really good crop of those as well. Now, in between these, however, there is something else kind of interesting that I thought I would try as an experiment, and that, well, really I haven't tended particularly well. It's all of this. These are melon plants, and to be specific, they're Gallia melons. They're covered in flowers, and they seem to be doing really nicely, except a bit like the cucumbers, I have not stayed on top of pinching out side shoots or giving them support. So at the moment, they are trailing melons, and I may just stick with that. I'm not sure whether I'll get them strung up, but what I am going to need to do is do a little bit of a prune on them. However, when I start to look through at the flowers, the signs are looking good. I think with any luck, I'm going to get some melons. So this whole bed, which is very much an experimental bed, is just packed full of stuff happening, and I am over the moon. So there you have it, a full update tour on everything that's happening in the polytunnel at the moment. When I started to put all of the stuff in, I gave you an idea of what I thought abundance meant when it came to growing stuff, either in the vegetable garden or in the polytunnel. And I said this: one of these terms that gets used around vegetable gardening is abundance. And I think abundance means different things to different people. But for me, abundance means a load of things. It means not only having plenty of stuff to eat from your own garden, but also plenty of interest, maybe being able to grow something that you can't buy in the supermarket, or being able to grow quantities of things that are that little bit special that would otherwise cost you a lot in the supermarket. And I think it's all of that together, plus having the odd little treat in terms of getting a strawberry or a fresh tomato and eating it straight off the vine or off the plant in the heat of the polytunnel. For me, all of those things come together to produce what is abundance. Well, I think if I go along with what I said there, I think it's fair to say that certainly at the moment the polytunnel really is productive and truly abundant. I'm already starting to get some lovely harvests of nice, interesting fruit and veggies that I can enjoy in the house, and there is so much more still to come as the season keeps on going, and hopefully we continue to have a really nice summer, because we're really only in the middle of the summer and there's still another couple of months to enjoy. Hopefully this has given you some inspiration and a real hit of positivity that you can achieve an awful lot in even a small space if you have your own polytunnel or a greenhouse or some other kind of covered growing area. You can totally do it. But as ever, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell icon, so that way you'll be notified when I post my next video. And until next time, see you later.